every month that passes, it takes clients 1 day longer to close on the average deal and for 1% less. And so this is, there's a great line by Hemingway, and it was one of his books. One of his characters asked the other character, "How did you lose all your money? How did you go bankrupt?" And he said, "Well, it happened with two ways: gradually, then suddenly." And that's what's happening here. Is we live in a gradually then suddenly world. And my thing is that people are waiting for suddenly, trying to prepare for suddenly, and doing fuck all to prepare themselves for the gradually. And incidentally, to me in business, to the point of the law firm, you won't be put out of business by a better business, but by a better business model. The gradually is your business model. And that's where we need to be tweaking, is not our business. We need to tweak our business models. That's the big threat. People will still need legal services to some degree. Is it going to be as big a business as it was? Maybe not.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another cracking edition of The Threshold. My name is Matt Brown, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Brent Spill the Tea Spilkin and Richard PowerPoint Mulholland. Boys, welcome back to the show.
How you doing, man?
This is one of my favorite things, Matt. Seeing your on-the-fly introductions to the two of us every week is like, it is great.
I've got to point out that I shared the last episode 2 days ago, or a day ago, and I watched the first 2 or 3 minutes, and Matt was like, Brent, the arsehole Spilkin, and the amazing Richard Mulholland. I was like, how did I get that shitty title? It was some like pathetically bad versus unbelievably good. And I was like, oh my God, that's disparate. Anyway.
No, you're still the T and I'm PowerPoint. I mean, you don't get much lower than PowerPoint. Yeah, so I mean,
Richard Teams Mulholland.
No, fuck you, man. That is lower. You found the valley. You found the depth. I actually do really like PowerPoint, but I understand that the world hates it. So by association.
Death bar, right. What's going on, boys?
Quick aside, I was saying to Matt, I was driving to work this morning and it was a beautiful day. And it's the one thing about living in a wee island in the middle of the Irish Sea is the beautiful day doesn't mean a hot day or cold day, it just means a blue sky day. And I was driving to work and I had an hour before my first call with Justin King. And I thought, you know what? Let me just go and find a walk. And so all along the side of the road here, these tiny little signs that say public footpath, and they're just like at arbitrary spots. So I went off the road I was driving to work into the countryside, and I was just waiting. And then I see this hill in the distance, and I thought, oh, that looks like there's a pathway up that hill. So I drove towards it, and like I pulled over to the side. I saw the little public footpath sign, and I did this like incredible, like it was maybe like a 30-minute climb hike to the top of this hill, and it was just magnificent. And I think exploration is underrated. I think we like to do things that we already know, and finding new shit. Now I recognize this is a very like an island man. You could literally kind of stop anywhere and just walk, but finding new places and new things and breaking routines is really, really good for the soul. So that's my very, very quick morning update.
We spoke about the value of adventure when Matt spoke about his near-death experience. It's probably a similar thing, is that different levels of adventure, but, going on a new path is some kind of adventure to some degree.
Actually, spot on, right? It's a micro adventures. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe like we think of adventure and you think of it as this big deal, right? This big thing you got to go on a Misogi or, some big challenge you got to do. And, but maybe actually micro adventure is like the idea that you can seek out these micro adventures at many, many times. Like if you can do 2 a week, small little things where you were adventurous. And that's what you're trying to seek, is that feeling of being adventurous. And I think that can really, really break. I promise you, like it's so stupid. I'm opening saying that I went on a walk, but like it filled my tank. I know this for the people on the audio, they're not going to get the benefit of this thing. But I climbed up to these, I saw this at the top of this hill and I kind of climbed up and I saw everybody goes up there and stacks stones. So I stacked a rock at the top and you can see in the background there, there's the coastline and things right at the south end of the island. And I just like when I walked back down to my car, like I was invigorated is the word I would use. Anyway, very, very quick aside.
But I'll tell you what's also interesting about that is that we've spoken about fear, we've spoken about adventure. I just had a client now and we were talking about a big change in their business and the fear that they've got. about the change. And it's exciting, but they're very fearful of the unknown. And weirdly enough, for a split second, I was like, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of the fact that you've got something that's so big and unknown that isn't, death defying. It's like, you'll be fine. But it's when people have that, I'm going, you should be grateful for the fact that you have something scary to look forward to, a challenge to conquer, as opposed to get up and go to work every day. And it's those little things is that when you take that walk, you don't know what you're going to come across. You don't know whether you're going to see something amazing or whether it will be boring or whether you're going to miss the next appointment. But there's a little bit of fear, a little bit of the unknown. And I think that does give you a sense of like being, alive. It's
Yeah. The
underrated.
unknown and exploration are very, very, there's an exploration aspect to anything when unknown exists. And I get there's a link between explanation and adventure.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
I went.
And you, Matt?
I went camping with Franklin, my son, for the first time.
Oh, I saw it. That's so cool.
Yeah, so did I. Cool,
it was sick. Which ties back to what you guys are saying. I mean, to instill that sort of value in him, because he's so YouTube and gaming and Roblox and VR, and it's so, and especially now with the kids being on summer break, that's like all they do. We put them in summer camps for like a month. But at some point, the summer break is so long here. It's like, it's like 3-4 months, something crazy. It was great to have him out in nature and then also experiencing what adventure means, So we had his ATV there, his quad bike, which didn't have enough power to get up some of the hills. So he got very disappointed. And then we just, hopped into my giant truck and then just went adventuring, up these massive cliff faces and stuff like this, trying to find new campsites and so on. So, I mean, it was great for him. The first like few hours for him were weird because he was like, what do we do now? So I was like, anything we want, So we went and we cut down trees and we went up, walking up the hill, put the drone up. It was great. It was great. So he settled into it, and then kids learned to entertain themselves without having a screen in front of their face. So yeah, it was great.
Good stuff. I'm looking forward to. I'm trying to get my daughter to come. She's 8. I want to go camping with her, and she's like, "No, mommy must come and baby must come." And I'm like, "No, I think we can do one night on our own." And we've done a few nights as a family, and as soon as you light that fire, she's all in. Hey? It's like that's the best thing in the world. But the participating in putting up the tent and washing dishes and cooking, like I think that's got real value, huge value. Because at home you can just get away with not doing it. Dishwasher.
I also think there's massive value. Sorry, I also think there's massive value in split family time. So I love family time, but we do dad-daughter date nights. Bailey and I. And like Callum and I are going out to dinner on Thursday, and then Jazz will do stuff with the kids individually, and they must do stuff with each other individually, and Jazz and I should do some stuff individually. Like if you've got a family of 4, it's not just one unit. It is an AB, a BC, a BA, and carving out special time. I think that I really truly believe that the time that I spend, say, going in these kind of date nights with Bailey will be something that she will remember. They'll have a special place in her heart because it was just her and her dad. And I think that, for me, family is like such a big deal. So you tend to believe that you're doing everything as a collective noun. But like Matt, you and Frank doing that trip and just having that amazing time together, it's so funny because I think as well that the future memory of that might even be bigger than the experience of being there. Like that he'll have some little memory bank of this thing that you guys did that will be way bigger when he thinks back. And it could be magnificent.
How much of this is us being selfish by the drone documenting this for our own reflection in the years to come? I often find myself taking photos going, one day I'm going to go back and look at these photos selfishly to remind myself of these things. My daughter, obviously, Rich, it's different because of the time difference, of the age differences here, right? But my daughter will send me voice notes from my wife's phone. Like, Daddy, I love you. Come home now. Please get cheese on the way home, whatever it is. And I save all these voice notes. Like I put them in Dropbox, right? And we've got the ones where she first started counting. Now she's having real conversations. And it's for me. It's a selfish thing for me that one day now on my rocking chair somewhere, like I'm going to listen to these voice notes, like, and be emotional and, melancholic about these things. I'm curious to know how much of these things do we do, not for your kid to remember how wonderful her dad was, but so that we could remember like some of these things. You're not documenting date night. I get that. But I'm also curious to know, like, do we do certain things selfishly for ourselves in future or not? Because I certainly do. Hey?
I do. I mean, it's also like there's special times, first time camping with your son is, and because, also, and we spoke about this because my father never took me camping ever, not once. He was just that type of dude. And so, for me to feel like I've done something, that I would have liked, but never got, and now I'm passing that sort of, experience on, or that gift on to him. Of course, I'm going to record it and take photos of the most ridiculously awesome sunsets and that, because you forget, your brain generalizes, and distorts information. And especially for me, like, I feel like I'm losing my ability to remember things, like people's names. What was the name of that town we rode through? Just little things like that would be nice to know. So that's why I document stuff, even, riding the bike and stuff. It's purely for me. I actually don't give a fuck if anyone actually watches it. Like, I really don't. Maybe the review videos is a little bit different because I'm trying to get, subs and stuff. But otherwise, it's literally for me. Like, what was that experience like? What was said, what music was playing, how big was the fire, what was the sunset like, where was that campsite, take a photo of it, that's the place I want to go back again, where was it again, oh, there it was. So it's for me, there's utility in it for sure.
These conversations that we have, it's interesting to me that the first few of these podcasts we ran were very business heavy. They were like, the first few were all around like entrepreneurship and business. And I know that weaves through these conversations, but just reflecting on the last few we've had, business has not really been a consideration in the content. It's all been life and experience and fear and saving and the what we call it, the cobras of our future and like the snakes and like it's all very non-work related. And I appreciate it because it's we all spend a lot of time thinking and working about work. So I'm just pointing out, I love the fact that these conversations veer off into content that is actually more meaningful. Like the pictures of your kids camping and sunset is way more valuable than, hey, Matt, you just won a client and you got an extra $10,000, whatever the number is. Like, really?
Both, I guess, have value, but the one will be remembered longer, right? So the moment, and I guess this is why we photograph. The memory is imperfect, and maybe why we make things bigger. And I don't necessarily think it's selfish. To your earlier point, when I do it for me, like I am not just doing the dad-daughter date night, say with Bailey for Bailey. I'm doing it because I enjoy spending time with my daughter. It's not a case of that and so I must say we actually don't, if we did something big, we always take photos, but we certainly don't take pictures every single time we go down to Byron's and Port Erin. Like it's that would be the thing. I think it's more the case of that you're banking these memories and then you every now and then capture it. And but I do think it is valuable. I think what's nice, like I was just thinking, take those little voice notes. Right. And imagine, you play this out, you've not got a sum total of all voice, Stella's voice like throughout time. Imagine she later though takes those with future technology and is able to actually weave a story of her life, but in each instance tell the story in the first person in the state of voice she was in. And the kind that, like, literally in her actual voice. And like this stuff is going to be possible very soon, let alone when in the future. So imagine what the idea of creating these future ingredients for the future, that the future will be able to, our kids in the future will be able to do really, really cool stuff because they have access to things that we have access to the things, but we don't have the tools to do the things with, if that makes sense.
So I'm obsessed with of late, specifically on the AI piece, with documenting and gathering all the information that I have for some future use that is yet to be determined.
Right.
Like I downloaded 1,600 transcripts off my Fireflies AI transcription app the other day. You know, I don't want them lying on their app. I want them. So I just downloaded all of them. Weirdly enough, using AI to produce an automated piece of script to ping the API to download it, because they don't let you do it in one go. So every 6 seconds was downloading one thing. Technology, right? I'm learning. But it's a thing around going, there has to be value in countless thousands of hours of transcriptions based
100%.
on these businesses, right? I don't know what that is yet. Do we use?
Plaud, Plaud.
No. Oh, we discussed this. No, I don't.
Yeah. So I take one. I mean, the other day I was doing a new keynote for the first time down in Cape Town. And I'd written like maybe 40% of the content was brand new. Some of it I haven't done much, and some of it was legacy. So I recorded the whole thing. I just took my Plod device, I pinned it onto myself, and I popped it in to ChatGPT, not even a custom GPT, and we built some really great ones, just a regular one. And I said to it, this is a brand new keynote. My new material was this, and this. Do a breakdown section by section. It was brilliant. So, and that's today already. But now imagine I do that every single talk I do, I just record. And then I start saying, compare this talk with the last one. What was better? What was worse? What was going on? And you know, you're just, the more artifacts you have, the more ingredients. And if we imagine that every one of these digital artifacts is raw material, it's future material from which stuff could be built. Like, and I know it's going to sound silly, but we're at the point now where, you know, maybe later on in our life, we beat death not by living forever, but by creating a digital twin of ours that does live forever in a world that's like this, and all it's using is past data. Now, you know, in the world that we live in right now, the infrastructure of this hasn't inverted yet. So that doesn't sound exciting. It sounds weird and creepy. But if the idea is that there is a version of you that will die and your body will die and things, but there's a version of you at that point will continue in a digital space and will continue to have this idea of eternal life, it won't feel like eternal life for you, but it will feel like eternal life for it. And I think like the more artifacts we create, the better.
But I mean, Rich, the bottom line is today, in theory, if I think about the last 15 years of emails from a coaching practice that I've got, the book that I wrote, the books that I've read, all of these transcripts, all my thousands of notes that I've sent my clients, I can produce a WhatsApp bot today that in theory could live forever and could start learning more based on the interaction that it has. I could die tomorrow. That WhatsApp bot today could live forever. So
right, totally.
I think it's totally, you know, different versions, obviously, but I mean, I think that's totally doable. It does freak me out a little bit because I'm like, do you want that? Commercially, yes. But I don't know if I want my daughter in 50 years to be engaging with Spilly on a chat bot. That might be a bit weird.
Or wonderful.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I haven't given it much thought, but freaky. Absolutely.
You'd have to put a video avatar on it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, which it would. But if you imagine now, if you had access to, if I had access to my great-grandfather, my grandfather, not my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my mum's dad died when my mum was 7. He looks a lot like me. So he died obviously younger than I am now, but he was very entrepreneurial. He came over from Poland during the war. He stayed. He was told he was going to die within a year. But actually, he ended up having 2 kids, marrying my gran, having 2 kids, and building 6 stores around Glasgow. He had a kind of leatherworks factory. And I would love to go back and chat to him around entrepreneurship, around all of these things. Now, my grandkids, they will get more than just passing stories passed down by my parents. They have access to every video I've ever put out there. But now imagine that you can build a version of your digital self that is for public facing. Okay, that's the business things like this. But then you can build a special version that literally is just for your descendant lines.
Yeah.
And maybe that eventually goes broader, but by the time it gets broad enough, you'll be long enough dead that it won't matter. And you just tell them these things, and it's certain things when they're a certain age, they will hear this thing, or when they become older, then they have access to something else, and so they can learn things, and we just don't know what will be possible. So why not just leave better breadcrumbs? And I think that's what all of these photos and things are.
The thing I'd also say, Rich, is that each of these things are businesses. Like the idea of we can build a custom for your daughter and for your son if you've got enough of these digital breadcrumbs, if you have enough information online, and a lot of people do, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever that is, like gather that stuff. There's definitely a model there where you could build something out. Did we discuss the children's coloring in books last week? No.
Do you want to pin those? Unless it's because I actually okay.
Pin it.
Pin it for now, and then we'll come back to it. I'll tell you why.
Can we just talk about one thing quickly? Before we jump on the call, let's pin it. We have a 20-minute pin rule. Because in 2 weeks' time, all those pins are falling out the wall. We don't know which wall they were in.
It's got to be covered in this call. So we've hung up coloring in book. We're going to come back to them. Cool. And if I go back before we go to Matt's section, we'll we were originally, we had a brief chat before the call, and we were going to open and chat about a thing that Matt was going through, and then I was going to share a tool that I found. But the tool is so relevant to what we're discussing, I'd like to do that now quickly. Cool. So let me give you a very quick backstory. During COVID, I discovered a tool called Roam Research. Have you guys used it?
No.
Roam Research, or the kind of one that was built afterwards, was called Obsidian. Do you know Obsidian?
No.
So basically, it was a dump for everything that you know. So it's a knowledge base. And every meeting you have, you type in Roam. And basically what happens is every day on Roam is a new day. And so you just start typing. But anytime you use double brackets, it would link that to everything else. So I can turn around and say, if I had a Zoom with Matt or a chat with Matt, and I just tagged, made a note and linked in Matt Brown, if I click on Matt Brown's page, on that hyperlink, every single note I've ever made about Matt appears. So I was a real believer in this. I felt it was like super exciting. The software was growing massively. And in fact, that was 5 years ago. I've used it for 5 years. And the reason I know that is they launched the Believer plan. So I invested like $3,000 in the business, like not too much, just a small little micro investment. But I also paid for 5 years of Pro. And it was called the Believer plan. Then you got to jump into Zoom calls with the founder and stuff. Anyway, they recently, I feel like they've really, really dragged their heels on development. Obsidian has done better, but basically it was trying to be this graph of your life, like this thing that was just all the connections of all the concepts of everything else that you would know. And let me just see if I can show you guys. Might not at the moment. It won't show me this graph. So what happened is last week my 5-year subscription ended. And so I had a thought, do I immediately subscribe again or do I look for something else? Now, I briefly went back to a tool called Workflowy, which I like, but it didn't have that daily thing. So I was chatting on the Workflowy Slack and somebody recommended an app called TWOS, TWOS. If you guys want to go to, or anybody wants to go to getrich.af/TWOS. If you do that, we'll both get one unlock. And this is a very important thing. I'm gonna hang this up lower than Brent's coloring in book because I want to chat about their business model. But what this is it's basically the immediate place you write everything. So it links to your calendar. So every single meeting has the potential to turn your meeting into a list. Everything is backlinked. It makes it easy for you in any context. And it basically has separated the act of filing. You just write shit there and then and move it later and file it later. And then you can use tags, you can use templates. It's wonderful. I'm like blown away by it.
Wait, does it sit inside email? Like where does it live?
No,
is it a separate app?
Own software. So it's its own tool that looks like I wonder if I can share screen here. Okay, so if I share this is one I've just owned here. And you can see here, there's talk fodder. So I wanted to talk about this and Dan, whatever his name is, race. This would work well for Relentless Relevance, but also Get Fired Last, which is a program we're doing. Would work. And the one below is about how on innovation and the Walkman. And this will be good for relentless relevance. Will also be good for Legacide. I also have a Kanban boards for sales. I have different little things. The little walk I went on this morning, I put a link. So there's the cover photo, and I just started a little thing called We Island Walks, and then so now I have this, and so if I want to find it again, I can put it there. And so I don't want to go into my daily view because it's got some more personal stuff, but the idea would be that so you just go and you write everything at any given time that you want, and you can select text and just say send to twos. You've got little things on your phone. It's really, really brilliant way of just gathering everything, and you just dump photos in it. You dump lists in it. So it exists in basically two contexts. You have lists and things. Lists would be like books you want to read, clients you want to see. You can build Kanban boards inside it, a lot like Notion, to be honest. But it's Notion with a slightly better, easier to enter interface. It's giving you a better point of entry. And the point of entry is today, in the current context you're in, because your current meeting, this podcast is there. And in this podcast is me discussing this, wanting to bring up this tool. And so these kind of things are like really, really handy. And it's a great way of capturing. So every meeting you have with every client. But where it gets really, really cool is, let's say, Brent, you have a client called Bob. And let's say every time you meet with Bob, you make all of these notes. Then what happens is the AI tool inside it, at any given time, you can say, bring me up to speed with my discussions on Bob. And it would tell you this thing, where did we leave off with Bob last time we met? And it will tell you all of those things in context. Anyway, that's thing number one that I loved about it was I think it's a wonderful software that I would pay to subscribe to. Thing number two is that you cannot subscribe. It's a zero subscription service. Listen to their model. It's 100% free. Okay, there is no subscription option. But for little extra features like adding hashtags is either $2 once off or 200 coins. Now, I earned 200 coins in the first day just by doing random stuff. If either of you sign up, we both earn 200 coins, and every upgrade is 200 coins. So you can earn the more you use the software, the more coins you earn. So every time you enter a piece of content, you earn a coin, and every time you do that, you can upgrade. And you can unlock an upgrade. And they've got like 20 upgrades. Add color highlights, add AI, add templates, add all of these things. And so their model is really, really nice because it works for both people. On one side, their model is, you can buy something for $2. But on the flip side, that means they have to keep developing things that you would want to buy. So the incentive is really, really nice. Now, once you've kind of bought up everything, if they release a new feature and it's $2, you'll just buy it instantly. So if they're got a big enough user base and they introduce one new feature every 2 months, everybody will buy it just because that's all it is. But anyway, it's fascinating to me. And, when I was chatting to Justin King about it, he was saying it basically is they've taken video game unlocks, earn jewels for doing things in the game and use those jewels to buy skins and things like this. And they've built the tool, they built the model for the video game generation. So anyone who's natively grown up with video games understands this tool. Anyway, I'm blown away by the tool, but I'm completely and utterly enamored with the business model. I can't even understand how it works for them because the more I use it, the more jewels I will earn. Therefore, I will not have to pay for upgrades. And yet they seem to make it work. They've been around for, I think, 3 or 4 years, and they have a very loyal fan base.
And is there a promise that they will never charge subscription? Is that the promise? Or are they trying to build up critical mass and then go, by the way, we're now $5, and then you go, well, I'm invested, I'm going to pay?
My gut feel would be they will probably, here would be my guess, they would either grandfather all the early users in. So they might be subscription from a point, but then anybody who was before that, or they will introduce a special set of tiers that are subscription tiers. And those might be, by the way, like, for example, for me, if they said these unlocks, any unlock you do is once per year. So $2 a year to unlock hashtags, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. And again, there's more coins you can pay for the next year.
Yeah, their user base is quite small there. So they've got, according to, that's actually a shit reference, sorry. This was June 2023. I'll do deep research on GPC. I don't want to ruin their vibe, but anyway, they had a very small user base. It was like
Which is
2,000 weekly active users. They were growing at 49% month on month 2 years ago. I'll see if I can
right.
dig out
So
some more stats.
Yeah,
yeah,
if you
so
compound
if
that,
they
that's a
carry
penny for the
on
night.
growing, well, if they carry on growing at 50% basically month on month, that's pretty good. And yeah, the core of their growth hack is everybody you refer that you unlock one upgrade, which is nice, and they get one upgrade, so they get their first upgrade free. Anyway, so I don't know, and I guess this is always the risk when something has a small user base is that, well, what if it doesn't last? But everything is exportable. It's all essentially just drop down lists. That's all it is. So you can export your full graph, no problem, just like on Roam or any of these other tools.
So, I mean, the only lesson I've ever learned here is that and this may have been one of your recommendations at some point in the past, which was I used to use Sunrise app for my calendar. And I was deeply invested in that. I loved it to bits. I would never ever leave it. And calendar is something that you use every day. Like it's one of the core couple of things you just can't do without. And then they just sunsetted. Sunrise was sunset. And when you're like, never again. I'm back in Google. I'm back in Microsoft. I don't want to invest in something and figure out how it works, where it's core to my life to then have it disappear. Not that the bigger guys can't go to zero, but on certain things, I'm not prepared to experiment with anymore. Maybe that's just me getting old and my brain getting hard.
Yeah, and I think that's problematic. I mean, without being overly judgmental, I think it's okay. Like let's talk about adventure again. Remember when you said adventure and fear? I mean, you were talking about earlier on. So there is a component here. There is a component that I'm starting to invest some time. Now, again, luckily it's kind of slice of life stuff. So even though I'm not paid for subscription to Roam, every note, as I need a note or a page from Roam, what I've done is I've just exported it, and then I imported it into this one. And you can actually export the whole thing once. So it's not like there's no way of accessing all of these notes and all of these, dump it into ChatGPT and they're all searchable. So you're kind of not at that level of risk. You could import this all into Notion and go with that, but it's the
so I think the peripheral stuff I'm prepared to experiment with, like stuff that's not going to completely screw my business up. Like I'm happy to do. So absolutely, but also you got to bear in mind, Rich, you and I are very different in terms of the way our curiosity level. I think about your appetite for new games and your experimentation, and like I'm very linear in certain things, like boring, maybe stale, where you've got this insatiable appetite for newness, not good or bad. Neither of us, I don't think, but like you're the guy that I think about who has probably seen more technology tools or experiment with as many things. You're the guy in my life. There's no question about it. Like you've probably had more software subscriptions over the last 20 years, more than any other human I know, never mind business. And a lot of those you've probably churned. And yes, you've learned a lot and you've figured out stuff and you've probably found new networks and there's massive value where I've been like, I've been outside of my business. I've been long on Google for a long time. I believe that if there's something out there that's really smart, Google will figure out how to bring it into my ecosystem. And that's just the way I operate. There's definitely risk to that, but
well, I just think there's the potential loss for that. And the reason I brought up this too is at this point in this conversation is because we were talking about documenting and creating more documentation events. And, so when you open your dashboard now, I don't have to open my calendar. I open Twos. I've used it for 2 days, so yesterday and today. I open Twos, my calendar is there. And then I launched this call. The Riverside link is in this call. So I launched this call from here. I launched Zoom call from Twos. And then I just click the little list button and then I enter the notes phase and I can make all the notes that I want in every meeting's context. And there's something about that it just makes it basically saying there is a place every single day where you dump ideas and you do it. And then all of that becomes searchable for future you.
So Rich, I want to get into Matt's piece in a second, but the thing is interesting is that a few days ago, I saw a talk from Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, and he was talking about AI agents. And he was literally describing the death of Microsoft, because what he was saying is that in the future, there's going to be a single agent that is the only interface we are going to use. We're not going to use email. we're going to be agnostic to email. So there'll be an email platform in the background. We never log into email. We never log into calendar. We never log into notes. We never log into, because we're just going to be engaging with the single thing that has fingers in all of these underlying SaaS products. And when the way he said it to me, I was like, that makes, the way I'm using ChatGPT now to go into Dropbox to look for information for me, as opposed to me going to open Dropbox, open a Word doc, I'm never opening Dropbox again. In theory, I could tell ChatGPT I want to write an email to Richard. It will know I'm using Gmail. It will write the email and will send the email. I don't need to go into that application. So all of these things, I think, are going to be centralized. I'm not giving him justice in terms of the way he explained it, but it makes complete sense that we can each pick a tool that's going to be our interface with all of these underlying technologies. And we don't need to have visibility on all of these things, because this thing will understand our ecosystem and what we want. And two, may become part of that.
I mean, this was the promise of like your series and stuff like this to a degree, is what they were, that agent. So first of all, I think that there's two things here. And I think by the time we get to the point where agents are usable, we've gone past the point where agents are required. So an agent being a single point of contact between you as an interface between everything, a digital intern that has your passwords and things like this to everything. Now that's kind of like my actual human assistant, right? But now my human assistant, I have to have very, very important permissions, because she can access my work email, but she can't access my personal email. She can access my bank accounts and she can make payments up to a certain amount, but she can't make payments up to a full amount. And so there are a certain bunch of level of things that we have. So first of all, there's a potential security risk is that if one thing can talk to everything, then you've created these little bridges, these many digital bridges between a whole bunch of disparate softwares. And so, for example, what's to stop somebody in your team asking a question of an agent from the database inside your company system, but then also like telling the company CEO's salary or something like this? So these are all messy things we've got to figure out. But also, by the time we get to a full single agent that can do all of that, it won't be an agent anymore. We wouldn't think of it as one entity. We'll be beyond the fact of an agentic thing, and it'll just be this idea of this connected intelligence. And I think I dislike the term artificial intelligence a lot. And I find artificial general intelligence is basically saying fake human-like intelligence. We don't need fake human-like intelligence. What we need is connected intelligences. So what we need is my Matt's motorbike to be able to talk to his telephone for route planning, and if there's an emergency, know how to contact something else that calls this, and all of these intelligences can be connected. That's what is required. We don't need everything to be super smart. And in fact, for everything to be general intelligence requires too much information. But I still think humans will want to use, no matter what we have, we'll find other cool, interesting interfaces to make ourselves feel important and cool tools for us the way we want to work. And so we'll be able to do much higher. The ceiling is higher, but we will then need an interface at that level.
Okay. Coloring. Yes. I want to unpin coloring in books, and then Matt hasn't said a word in the last half an hour. So the promise of AI is that all these new businesses and new things will transpire. And I'm kind of always going, where are these things? People are losing jobs way faster than jobs are being created. Kind of an aside. I saw someone talking about this online the other day, and I did it. I uploaded 2 photos of my family to ChatGPT and said, please create a coloring in book, A4 PDF that I can print for my 8-year-old daughter. And it produced the most remarkable coloring in pages of my family. Now, what's amazing about that, I took that home and I said, here you go. My daughter's like, oh, that's amazing. Wife's like, oh, you just put an illustrator out of business. Sorry, yeah, probably. Okay. And quite a meaningful job. You think about illustrators that produce kiddies illustrations, like it's quite a meaningful thing in our lives. But I'm going, think of the business here. Hey, Rich, you got a 10-year-old kid who's got a birthday party. Upload 300 photos of your kids. We can physically print a coloring in book, bespoke, quite expensive. But I'm going, that's a whole business. And that's fairly easy to do. And I think there's a whole genre of kiddie gifts and school projects and stuff that you could do. It's a whole new business that
people losing their jobs. I'll find this. Well, if you've lost your job because you're a developer, Derivco in South Africa let go of 200 developers. Right now, every single one of those developers can now go around and say, well, what could I do now? What small little app could I do based on this? These are little ideas like building a coloring in book service, print on demand service. Like in the US, the back end exists. There's a print on demand service that you'd be able to design it, send it straight there, and it would
Yeah.
be printed, and you're just
And
making
ship
like
it directly. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, it's interesting because this wasn't a business historically. It's now available to be a business. And it may not be a massive business in a country like South Africa or in the Isle of Man. In the States, it could be huge, right? Just based on the volume. But I'm going, if you've got a stay-at-home mom that wants to make 20 grand a month, I think this business you could set up. Basic website, basic social, e-commerce, upload photos, send your shipping address, get the local guys to print it and ship it. There's a little business. And like, it's amazing to me that I'm starting to see these little things crop up. None of them have been these massive ideas, but this is a business that could not have existed 3 years ago. And now,
And you could build it in a day. You could have it live in a day.
Completely.
Tiny businesses are going to be like this is what we're kind of going to get into when we chat about Matt stuff. Like business is becoming harder. To run a medium-sized company at the moment is harder. It almost makes sense to turn around and say, I mean, there's something to be said for saying, can we launch a business a week for the next 52 weeks? And they're tiny, epic businesses. And their entire job is to go out there and do these small little things. And some of them work and some of them don't. And it's a hits versus misses play and kind of fund themselves. And you then all of a sudden have these tiny little revenue streams where you're making, $1,000 from the coloring in book one, but then you got $1,000 from something else and $1,000 from something else and $10,000 from something else. And all of a sudden you're living your best life.
That would be cool.
Man.
You guys are awesome co-hosts. So it's interesting. So I've been running this series on my show called The AI Advantage. So I've been talking to CEOs and business leaders about AI and adoption and voice models and, the future of, or what does a modern business look like, business models for law firms and things like this. So it's been pretty interesting because I've been on the coalface of this conversation for a while now. I actually spoke to the head of AI for Salesforce yesterday. And they've built, I forget the name, it's like unified something, blah, blah, but it's all about agentic AI. So the consensus is that agentic AI is the biggest thing that's going to change all businesses. And that's why, Mark Benioff literally changed. She was telling me that Mark was doing a kickoff for the year to doing a talk to the whole company. And he changed the whole story the day before the talk. And he was like, nope, we're now doing agentic AI.
It's like fucking Mark Zuckerberg and Meta. Mm-hmm. The metaverse. When you were sitting in one place, in one reality, this agentic AI is absolutely the near future. I promise you, even if we still use the term, we're going to get beyond agentic very, very quickly. But anyway.
Yeah, but the metaverse was rubbish.
I think it's the future.
Yeah, I mean, my team are building agentic AI. Like they're building it. And if you've got the resources and the talent pool of Salesforce, imagine what they're building. And they built this thing because they were like, well, this is happening and this is the future of business and blah, blah, blah.
This is why it's not going to be that interesting. I mean, we're doing mini agents for our clients at Too Many Robots. But that's what I'm saying. It's not the future, it's the present. But the future is going to be way more exciting. We are at the toenail clipping of development of AI, and look how quick it's gone. And from the toenail, we're looking at the hair on the big toe, acting like it's the future. For fuck's sakes, think bigger. Think bigger than the idea we have today. Stop guessing. Because by the time what looks real here, the reason the metaverse will never come into play the way they think about it is because by the time we get to the place where the technology for the metaverse is supported, we'll be able to do better.
But it was interesting because she was talking about little things like governance and policies within a business. There's no love for OpenAI in general from across the sort of market that or people that I've been talking to, because they were like, listen, OpenAI can't do these things, and what you're going to give all your business data to OpenAI, and then it's not secure. That's what you were saying, Rich, about it actually raises questions about security big time. I spoke to Simon Taylor, the CEO of Haiku. They're the world's fastest growing SaaS data protection company, and I said to him, "Do you think SaaS is going to go away? And agentic AI is going to take over?" And then what does that mean for your business? Because if you're securing SaaS applications and Satya Nadella is going, well, it's the day we're going to die, potentially, because they're a SaaS company fundamentally, whether that's cloud or application based. And he said that it's actually just going to help them to grow their business because, you're still going to have SaaS. It's just, to your point, Brent, it's the front interface that's going to change. So there's, so it's like as much as things might change, they'll still stay the same.
And with that, we are done. It was a weird, awkward silence.
I actually got to Matt's main issue yet, but we can kind of go through it. Do you want to, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose to add to that, like, I think there's a massive chasm, or is it chasm, Rich? In terms of companies willing to adopt this stuff. So, if you take a law firm, for instance, I asked this one managing partner of this 50-year-old law firm, and I said, how many associates do you have? He goes, 50. So I said, when you do a medical malpractice case, how many days do they typically spend doing discovery? He says, probably 3 days. So I'm like, okay, so that's 150 days of billable time, right? He's like, yeah. So I said, when you think about agentic AI, if those 50 associates could do that same amount of work in 8 minutes, how would you recoup the billable time? He's like, we can't. So a law firm won't adopt agentic, right? Because it will affect their business model. So then the whole question is, well, what does a law firm look like in the future? So, and I see the same thing happening all the time because I'm trying to sell AI solutions into businesses. And there's a huge amount of skepticism in general. So you can have the best proof, the best, product. You can get them to speak to voice models or voice agents. And the skepticism is just the default here. And that's what I was talking to the head of AI about Salesforce about, because if they've built this AI platform and you've got, tens of thousands of customers in 150 countries, are they going to adopt it? And to what extent are they adopting it? And what this is doing for me, because I'm a startup, we don't have the, $1 billion in cash lying in the bank to allow this wave to eventually manifest itself in the future. And so, yeah, I'm finding it pretty tough right now to sell AI as a startup because of things like, well, we'll never adopt this because we're a highly regulated industry and it's financial services. Or we'll never adopt it because our brand values are human to human, Or there's just like, there's this massive skepticism around
brand value to human to human. Use AI to allow humans to spend more time humaning.
Yeah,
yeah,
I know. But anyway, So I'm just finding it frustrating right now, and so it's affecting me not only from a business perspective but also personally, because I'm trying to sell this thing, and I've been in this fucking situation before where you have one bad quarter and then suddenly that affects a lot of things around an exit. And I'm just like trying to get out of this fucking place here. Like the pain is real, dude. The pain is real. And so, yeah, I just don't know what to do. And also, I don't know whether it's I don't know if it's like the time of year, in the sense of it's
definitely
summer.
In the States, right? Summer, no one's going to do anything up here.
It's the 4th of
It's
July.
a hard time generally.
Yeah.
Every month that we go on adds a day to our sales cycle. Like it takes every month that passes, it takes clients 1 day longer to close on the average deal, and for 1% less. And so this is, there's a great line by Hemingway, and it was one of his books. One of his characters asked the other character, "How did you lose all your money? How did you go bankrupt?" And he said, "Well, it happened with two ways: gradually, then suddenly." And that's what's happening here is we live in a gradually then suddenly world. And my thing is that people are waiting for suddenly, trying to prepare for suddenly and doing fuck all to prepare themselves for the gradually. And incidentally, to me in business, to the point of the law firm, you won't be put out of business by a better business, but by a better business model. The gradually is your business model. And that's where we need to be tweaking, is not our business. We need to tweak our business models. That's the big thread. People will still need legal services to some degree. Is it going to be as big a business as it was? Maybe not. Are people going to be paid the same way? I was listening to, can't remember who it was, but the highest paid profession in the US is an anesthetist. And we're a hop, skip, and a jump away from that particular service. If you think about it, that's one. The putting in a certain amount of drugs for a certain weight, analyzing certain things. That feels to me like of the medical things, that's a very AI-able, like a robotic anesthetist.
And radiologists scanning scans. Like, but Matt, the thing I say here is that those law firms are dead. Because you can't fight that. That's the Xerox, right? You cannot fight that wave of, no, we're just not going to adopt it. Because someone's going to go, oh, I'm a startup, I'm going to adopt it. I'm going to wipe you out on price and efficiency on certain commercial documents. Like it's completely the wrong approach at a very basic level. Rich, the thing I want to say was I got a client in the States who was talking about the AR wave. And he went, this AR grows in two ways, step change and exponential. So step change is the self-driving cars. We have the technology. We can't deploy because the government's going, no, regulation. Then they unlock the regulation and massive step change, right? Boom, up. But it's flat. And then it's 90 degrees up. And then everything, right? We say, so large corporations, Matt, and this is the thing which is around your ideal clients. Large corporations are in the step change of AR. They're still flatlining because they don't know how to deal with it. And there's not enough, there's too much regulation and too much security concerns. Until they figure out what the unlock is, then there's going to be a 90% increase, a 90-degree increase. So you have to figure out where that point is to unlock it, right? Smaller businesses don't have that problem. So the smaller businesses where there's no red tape here, we can experiment with anything we want. We can do whatever we want. They are growing exponentially with all the tools. It's Richard. I wanted to try something cool. Going to buy it, going to put it into our business, and let's see how it goes, right? So those businesses, the small businesses, are going to exponentially grow using AR. It's the big guys that are doing the step change. But the step changes are massive when it's government and large corporate, when they unlock those things. Massive. So that's when we're going to see those changes. So it may be frustrating for a while, and then all of a sudden there's going to be massive budget unlocks. When and how, no one knows, but it's coming.
Yeah. I totally believe. I believe that the problem with the big businesses is the big businesses are a life support system for a much bigger life. So it's much, much harder for them to change their business model because there's too many salaries to pay. Matt, there's a guy called Rob Ottey. Definitely connect with him on LinkedIn, but he'd be an incredible guest on your other show. He was the CEO of Denise Rates, which was bought out by Norton Rose. He then became the global COO of Norton Rose, which was a top 20 law firm group around the world, really, really huge. And now he's left to build this thing called Aurelium, which is basically the future of law firms as designed by AI. And he's helping law firms change their model. And he'd be a really interesting guy to chat to and to get on as a guest.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll chat to him.
Cool. Wonderful, boys.
Yeah, good show.
Well, gents, Richard, was a pleasure chatting to you. Matt, I'm glad that you made an appearance in the last 5 minutes.
Matt just needed a break.
Yeah, I was enjoying the show as a guest.
Cool.
Boys, try twos. Let me know what it's like. Experiment, adventure a little bit. Play with it.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye.